in previous lecture we were discussing this relation diagram. So it is also called as interrelation diagram. So as I told you that it is used to study similar to the cause and effect diagram. This tool helps to analyze the natural links between different aspects of a complex situation. So one of the interrelation diagram is shown. So you can see uh, various parameters are there and they are interrelated to one another. So it can be, so if you plot a relation diagram in this fashion, it will be very useful for you to find out the relationship between various parameters. It is like a cause and effect diagram. Then whatever discussed, it is same written here also. So how to construct a relation diagram? So place the problem in the center. Okay, whatever problem is there, that you have to place it as write the primary causes of the problems around it. So write the primary causes of the problems around it. Find the second, third, fourth and fifth levels of causes by repeating why question. So whatever primary cause is there, so if you are not satisfied, then you go on asking why question every time and try to find out the second, third, fourth and fifth level causes that you try to find out. Okay, then once this diagram is over, you just review the whole diagram, review the entire diagram and explore the relationship among these causes and explore the relationship among these causes. So after reviewing the whole diagram, find the common reasons, as many as possible. So you try to find out the common reasons, as many as possible, and then combine these reasons to reach the root cause. Our objective is to reach the root cause. Combine these reasons to reach the root cause. So that was the second new QC tool. Then there is another new quality control tool, that is called as a tree diagram. Okay, so the objective of the tree diagram, you can see it is like if you see, it is like a tree. So these are the branches of a tree. Okay, main branches and sub branches. That's why it is called as a tree diagram. So what is a tree diagram? So it is a systematic approach to break down broad categories into finer and finer details. So what do? You try to break down a broad category into, say, its finer and finer details. So what will happen due to this? This helps the thinking process to progress step by step from generalities to specifics. So our thinking process improves with this. If a general problem statement is there and if we want to find out the solution of that problem statement, we have to think finer and finer. So unless and until you think, say, at a minute level, it is very difficult to get the solution of that problem. Okay, so one tree diagram is shown here. So the objective is to reduce the number of defects. So how to reduce the defects? So there are they have taken three characteristics or 3 points. So related to machinery, related to operator training, related to raw material. So what is related, how this machinery can reduce the number of defects? So what you have to do with respect to machinery? Evaluate the machines daily. On daily basis you evaluate the machines. Okay, fix the machines as needed. So what will happen, because due to evaluation of the machines on daily basis, if there is any kind of, say, fault is there in the machine itself, that can be easily found out. Okay, defective components can also contribute towards the production of defective parts. Fix the machines as needed. Replace out of date machines. So the machines which are not in proper working conditions, you have to replace those conditions. Okay, So this will help to reduce the number of defects. Also related to human, that is operator training. Many times because it may happen that if the operator is not, say, skilled operator, he is not aware of the quality control techniques, so that can produce the defective components. So related to operator training, you should provide the ongoing training to the operator. Okay. Then require the operator certification. So what you can do, if you want a particular if you want the operator of a particular skill, then while recruiting that operator, you just ask for the certification. Suppose if you want the operator to operate CNC machine, then while recruitment of an operator for that particular machine, you just ask whether that particular operator has that certification. If he has a certification, there is no issue. If he doesn't have certification, don't recruit that person. As simple as. Okay. Assess operator performance. So whatever performance of the operator is there, you try to assess that performance. Okay. So that is related to operator training. Then raw materials. So defective raw materials can also produce the defective parts, isn't it? So what you can do, you can evaluate the material suppliers. There may be various material suppliers, so you evaluate the material suppliers, try to carry out the audit of the suppliers on certain characteristics, try some test which can evaluate that particular supplier, and the suppliers which say successfully complete your audit formalities, take the material from such suppliers only. So it will ensure that whatever material which is coming to you, whatever raw material is coming to your organization, that is a good quality material. Okay. Then establish the standards of the raw material. So you have to establish the benchmark or standards for checking the raw material. So this is a very simple tree diagram to reduce the number of defects. So how it is done, so how it works. So what the tree diagram does, it allows anyone to detail high level goal into more operational task to achieve the desired result. So as we seen in the previous example, our desired result is to reduce the defect, and how to achieve that desired result. So by just a minute. So this is the desired, we want this desired result, and it can be achieved by working on all such things, all such parameters. Okay. So it starts with one item and which branches into two or more branches and so on. Just we saw. So one branch, again it expands into two or more branches and so on. Tree diagrams helps to think team from generalities to specifics. This we have just discussed. So it tells you exactly what is to be done. It is very precisely, it will, with the help of the tree diagram, you can very precisely find out what is to be done. Okay. So so steps to construct the tree diagram: write the objective on the left side. So how to construct a tree diagram, write the objective on the left side, then think of the different strategies to achieve these objectives. So various, just we saw the example, if you want to reduce the defect, how to reduce that defect. So what are the different strategies? The different strategies are material, machinery and operator training. So these are the different strategies. Now think of different strategies to achieve this objective in the form of primary branches. So the primary branches of our example are the machinery, material and operator training. Then think of the different means to accomplish above strategies. So once strategies are decided, so how we are going to accomplish these strategies, that should be written in the form of the secondary branches. So secondary branches we have written, isn't it? So all secondary branches are written. So you are go on doing this. So thus stratify till easy solution of the bigger problem is obtained. So you continue in this manner till you get the solution of the bigger problem. Okay. Then another new quality control tool is called as a matrix diagram. Okay, so everybody is familiar with the matrix, everybody has learned the mathematics, and in that we know that in a matrix there are certain columns and certain rows. Just a second. So there is one matrix diagram is in front of you. So this is a partial matrix program chart for Rogers takeout pizza. Okay, so this is some data related to a pizza shop. So these are the columns, these are the rows. So these are the objectives, these are the actions to achieve these objectives. So objectives are written here, actions are written over here, and the objective of a matrix diagram is to show the relationship between groups of information. So we want to find out the relationship, what kind of relationship is there between different groups. So this is say one objective, 30 minutes maximum wait, friendly drivers, courteous order takers. These are the different groups of say objectives, and these are the actions: improved employee training, improved kitchen process, improved delivery process, and improved control. So these are the actions which are used to achieve these objectives. Now we have to find out what is the relation between objectives and actions. So there it may happen that the relation between various objective and various actions, it may be strong relationship, it may be moderate relationship, it may be weak relationship. Okay, so we have to find out that, so that if you want to achieve any kind of objective, what action is exactly needed to be taken, that can be found out. Okay, so as you can see, there are three symbols are used. That is a strong relationship, so it is a circle with fully black. Then moderate relationship, then circle with filled gray color, and weak relationship, it is an empty circle, no color is filled. Okay, so these are the symbols which are used to indicate the relationship between groups of information. Suppose one example is there 30 minutes maximum time wait. So we know that the pizza should be delivered say before 30 minutes of the order, isn't it? So if that is the objective, how this objective is going to be fulfilled? So this, in order to fulfill this objective, what is to be done? So these are the actions. So there is a relationship between this objective and these actions. So improved employee training. So if you give the training to the employees, so that will definitely achieve this objective. So strong relationship, there is a strong relationship between this objective and this action. Also this strong relationship between this objective and improved kitchen process, strong relationship is there. Again improved delivery process, again strong relationship. Okay, but there is this the relationship between this objective and this action is a moderate one, isn't it? Then so if I want to achieve this objective, I have to concentrate on these three actions, isn't it? Second objective is friendly drivers. So friendly drivers, so if I want to achieve this objective, then action here black, you have to concentrate especially on the black circles. So relationship between, strong relationship exists, friendly drivers and training, improved controls, training. But there is there is a very weak relationship between improved kitchen process. There is a absolutely very weak relationship between kitchen process and friendly drivers, isn't it? Then so like this, you can write down your objective, you can write down the action, and you can whatever kind of relationship you think, you just put the symbols. You can give numbers also. If you want to give numbers for strong relationship, you can give say 10 number. For moderate, you can give say 5 number. For weak, you can say give 1 number, so that it can be easily understood, isn't it? So with this, this is very very useful, because many times we don't know if we want to achieve a particular type of objective, what action should we take. Okay, so with the help of this matrix diagram, we can easily find out if I want to get if I want to achieve any kind of objective, what should be exactly done. Okay, so this is the matrix diagram. So same information, it is used to show the relationship between 2, 3 or 4 groups of information. It can be used to compare the customers, so that can be used. Steps to construct, so label vertical axis with different strategies to be achieved. So we have seen the vertical axis, strategies to be achieved or objectives. Label horizontal axis with units involved in implementing these strategies, that is the actions to be taken, that is written. Draw horizontal and vertical lines of the matrix for each intersection. So wherever row and column meet, examine the cell and insert a symbol to indicate the relationship. So I told you, so whatever relationship exists between two say a row and column parameter, that you indicate the relationship. Okay, so it is used it is used to solve the problem by a rearrangement of the data in a such a way that relationship between relevant factors are brought into sharp focus. So it is very important that we have to bring into sharp focus the relevant factors. The factors which are relevant, those should be brought into sharp focus. So that is the biggest, and clarifying the relationship between individual features of the customer requirements and product characteristics. So you can easily, if you do this matrix analysis, you can get the relationship between requirement of the customer, and to fulfill these requirements, what characteristics should be included in the product, so that the customer requirements will be fulfilled. Then another quality control tool is called as a priority matrix. It is called as a priority matrix. So priority matrix is basically it is also called as a matrix data analysis. Please remember that priority matrix and matrix data analysis both are same. So it is a mathematical technique for analysis of matrices, for analysis matrix. So if you already have the matrix diagram, you have already matrix diagram, now you have to decide the priority of the work. Always remember that. Why the priority? Because in order to, we have seen this in the Pareto chart also, that the organization is always having more problems than the number of resources. So resources are limited and the problems are more, so we have to prioritize the problems. Okay, so which problem is to be tackled first, that is to be decided. So it is decided. So this is a priority matrix is a tool to decide that priority. Okay, so it is a, you can say it is a decision making tool. So here you can say that there are some categories, high, so importance and urgency. These are the two, you can say two parameters are there. So here high importance, low importance, again low urgency and high urgency. So now you can see it is a 2 by 2 matrix again, isn't it? So if you can see this cell number 1, so what indicates? It is a high importance as well as high urgency. High importance, high urgency, isn't it? So it means this activity is to be done on the most urgent basis. It has to be done right now. It has to be done right now because there is a high importance as well as high urgency also, isn't it? Second, you can see this cell now, it is high importance and low urgency. Importance is high but urgency is low, so you can do this activity next. Second, that will be your second activity. So this is the first activity, this is the second activity. So this activity can be done after doing the first activity, isn't it? Then come to the third activity. So here you can see there is high urgency and low importance. See, importance is low but urgency is there. Okay, so that can be do at last, that can be done at the last. And fourth priority is low importance and low urgency. So it is the you should do it never, you should do it never. So low importance and low urgency, this is called as a matrix data analysis, which is used for the, say, it is a decision making tool. So information related to this is given. So here the importance of horizontally placed attributes is compared with vertically placed attributes, isn't it? So here importance of each task gets compared with other task. Importance of each task is compared with the other task. So priority matrix is used when it is used when there are more tasks than the available resources. I told you, more problems than available resource, limited resources. Multiple choices exist. When multiple choices are there, so you have to choose the correct option. Okay, selection criteria is complex. When you want to select something and that criteria is very complex, so in that case you can go for this priority matrix. Then next quality control tool is a arrow diagram. So what is this arrow diagram? Arrow diagram shows the tasks to be performed in the project or process in the required order. Okay, so it shows if a project is there or if a process is there. So this tool shows how, in what sequence that process should be done. That is shown by this arrow diagram. So you can see one process is there or one project is there, and it consists of 4 activities. So activity A, activity B, activity C, activity D, isn't it? So this shows the arrow diagram for this particular process. So there is a one more sketch is there, this arrow diagram is there. So you can see here, this is a start, this is a finish. So the use of the arrow diagram is it gives the best schedule for the entire project. So it is basically used in scheduling. Okay, it is used in scheduling a project. Okay, so you can see again one sketch is there. So here this is a start point. So start here, activity A, and time required for activity A is, say, some 3 units is there. Okay, then activity B, activity C. So some kind of assembly is there, initial paperwork, then build a body, build a frame. Okay, so after this final paperwork, so before going to final paperwork, there is a finish body, mount body to frame, like that various activities are there. And finish frame, room, wash down, like that. Okay, so the sequence is given A, B, C, D. Okay, C, D, then E, F, G, H, and finally finish. So it is used basically in finding out the best schedule. Okay, so that is it is also known as a activity diagram or network diagram, or it is also known as a node diagram. It includes specific scheduling and monitoring tasks. Okay, So how to construct the diagram, define the objective of arrow diagram. So what you want to do, that you do, that you define, list all the activities needed to achieve it. So whatever activities are there, you list them and write them from left to right. Okay, write all these activities from left hand side to right hand side, the order in which activity must be. So that order of, say, activity, that should be maintained. Okay, precedence should be followed. Then remove the unnecessary activities. If there are any kind of unnecessary activities that should be removed. Find path with greatest number of activities and place it along the center. Okay, so do that. Then arrange the parallel activities in correct sequence and connect them to the central path. So whatever activities, whatever path with greatest number of activities there, you place it at the center, and along with that central say line, you place the activities that can be done parallel to the central activity. Okay, and finally connect it to the central path. Once position of all the activities finalized, put the arrows and circles for each activity. Okay, so what it is used for, it is used for planning sequence to perform numerous operations. So it is basically used for the planning. It can also use to indicate the effect of altering one operation on the other. So what it is used to find out what will happen if one of the say one operation is altered with other. Okay, so that can be studied using the arrow diagram. The last new quality control tool used is a process decision program chart, that is called as a PDPC. Okay, that is a PDPC. So what is what is the use of this PDPC? So the use of this PDPC is, this chart systematically identifies what might go wrong in plan under development. So it tries to find out if you want to do a project. Okay, so this PDPC chart tries to find out what might go wrong in your say project, and what should be the alternative if certain things go wrong. Okay, so let us see one example. The example of this PDPC is, the objective of this PDPC in front of you is you want to give a guest lecture to somewhere. You want to give a guest lecture to somewhere. Okay, so symbol is there. O stands for optimum, X stands for rejected. Okay, so how so if I want to give the guest lecture, what kind of problems I may face when I want to give that guest lecture. So what kind of problems will come in my way? So steps are there. So car to reach the venue, I will use the car to reach the venue of the guest lecture. Then I am going to use the laptop to give the presentation, and I want the video projector. Now if I want to use the car to reach venue, so what can happen to the car? The car can get breakdown. I don't know, the car can get breakdown. Nobody can tell when it gets breakdown. So if the car gets breakdown, so should I stop here, stop there? No. So what are the two options? Hire a car or take a public transport. If your car gets breakdown, what is the contingency plan? Either you hire a car or take a public transport. So out of these two options, which options I will prefer? The option with O, that is optimum. I will hire a car. I will not opt this. So I will hire a car. This is my second. This is the contingency plan if the car gets brown. Okay. So second, I am going to use the laptop to give the guest lecture. So what will happen if use the laptop? So it might happen that file is not found in the laptop. Laptop is opening but the file is not open. So what you are going to do? Use the CD. So take the backup in the CD or pen drive. Okay, and carry that pen drive. So even if the file does not find in the laptop you can use the CD or pen drive. It might happen that laptop fails to operate. Okay, laptop fails to operate, laptop is not opening at all. It may happen at the time of the guest lecture. So what you can do, ask the organizer for PC and use CD. So this can be done. You can already inform the organizer that you keep this as a backup. You keep the one PC ready and that PC can be used. Okay, use video projector. So I'm going to use the video projector to give the presentation. So if the video projector fails, what I'm going to do, it might happen that projector is not running in that particular say room. So what are the two options? Either you can use the whiteboard or you can use the OHP. You can use the OHP. So to use the OHP you must have the slides, but I am not going to prefer the whiteboard. So this is called as a PDPC, that is a process decision program chart. It tells you what can go wrong in a particular project. So this is related to a this can be used in large projects also. You should try to you should try to understand what can go wrong and what should be the alternative solution to that. Okay, so same is written. It is used for project risk management. It can identify potential future problem. As I told you that whatever risk associated with the projects that can be predicted in advance, and it can identify the potential future problem. So it provides a structure to identify what can go wrong and then plan about what to do when wrong things happen. So PDPC tells you that what can go wrong and what to do when wrong things happen. Okay, so steps to construct PDPC. Select a project that appears difficult. So select a project, identify initial situation and its constraints. So identify the situation and try to predict the constraints or predict the problem, what can go wrong. Start from left side and move to the right side. Write activities necessary to reach the goal and potential problems to perform these activities. So you have to go on doing this step by step. So whatever activities that are necessary to reach the goal, that activities you have to write one by one. Okay, and also you have to write the potential problems to perform these activities. So for each activity you have to try to find out what can go wrong and what is the alternative solution. Okay, so prepare the contingency plan by considering each problem. So for each problem there should be a contingency plan. Okay, so that you should not get stuck at any point of the project. So for each problem there should be the plan A, plan B, plan C, like that, and discuss what action is needed for that problem. Check whether the contingency plan are adequate. If contingency plan is not adequate, you try. If not, keep adding information. So you have to keep adding the information till a satisfactory PDPC is achieved. Okay, so it can be used to select the projects that are most likely to succeed. So this is the say last new quality control tool. So we'll stop here.